Minister Murray Watt, who is in Lismore at the moment, the Emergency Services Minister. Thanks so much for rushing inside. You've done really well.
Thanks, Kenny. It's a bit windy here in Lismore today, so sorry for that, mate.
It is, no, but everything's sounding quite good now. So you're in Lismore right now, almost 1 full year of living in a car, living out of hotel rooms, moving from couch to couch. This is, after the floods that we had early last year, living in tents for a whole year. That's been the situation for people in Lismore. It shouldn't happen in Australia, should it?
Look, Kenny, I think the reality is you'd always like to be able to do recovery from a disaster much more quickly. I think the challenge with this one is the sheer scale of the disaster that the Northern Rivers region of New South Wales has been through. And of course, we've now seen that replicated in so many other parts of the country over the course of this year. But today's been very useful to come back to Lismore. It's probably my 5th or 6th time that I've been here since the disaster, just to keep getting an update from people about what's working and what's not working. And I can now take up the concerns that people have got with my colleagues in federal government, but also with the New South Wales state government as well.
And are you hearing, is there progress?
I think there definitely is, Kenny. It's probably my first time back here for about 3 months or so. And certainly you can see little things like, there's more businesses back open up on the main street. We visited the Norco ice cream factory, which is one of the major employers around town, was completely devastated and wiped out by that flood. They've begun demolition work. They're about to start reconstruction work. And there are people moving back into their own homes, but that's not to say that it's perfect. There's still a lot more to be done, and there are more people than we'd like to see still in temporary accommodation, and we've got to keep working hard with the New South Wales government to make that happen.
To date, your government has paid $3.5 billion under the disaster recovery allowance, the Australian government disaster recovery payment, billions more still to come. $1 billion has been spent in the Northern Rivers alone. Are you certain it's going to where it's needed? How can billions be flowing and we've still got people living in cars and tents?
I think, again, Kenny, it's simply a matter of the sheer scale of this disaster. I mean, the reality is that areas like Lismore, like so much of regional Australia, was already suffering from a housing shortage before these floods came along. And in a town like Lismore, you can't have several thousand homes taken out of the housing stock by the floods without there being a shortage, an even bigger shortage. So, there's some fantastic work being done by both governments and non-government organisations to rebuild that housing. Obviously, we've announced the home buyback program with the New South Wales government, which isn't too far from getting underway. So there are some good signs here, but the reality is it will take a while. And I suppose I've been really clear with people today that even by being back here with Jim Chalmers today is a sign that we're not going to leave people behind. We'll keep coming back as many times as it needs, and we'll keep making sure that people have got the support that they need.
And in your press conference earlier with Treasurer Jim Chalmers, you mentioned that the main focus, apart from the human focus of all this, is mitigation, making sure you build in the right areas and things like that. The Munich Rays report says that almost 70% of Australians live in a local government area that was affected by a natural disaster declaration in 2022. That's a lot of areas to focus on mitigation, would you agree?
It sure is. And again, I guess it just shows you, Kenny, the incredibly bad weather systems that we've had through the country over the last 12 months. And of course, it's even more over the last 3 or 4 years. I'm not going to pretend that we can provide disaster mitigation for every street and every suburb around the country, but I do think that there is much more that governments can be doing to invest in disaster mitigation to help people keep safe. That's something that we said before the election, and it's something that we've been working on since. Just this week, we've opened applications for our new Disaster Ready Fund, which will see the federal government invest up to $200 million a year, every year, in disaster mitigation. And where possible, we want to see that matched by state, territory, local governments as well. And that means building flood levees, drainage improvements, bushfire evacuation centres, telecommunications upgrades. But it is a very big job that we have ahead of us.
Minister Murray Watt, really appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kenny. Good to talk.